Scottie Dynamite.
I got what it takes to be a champ.
Here's our Wednesday NBA doubleheader on ESPN and the app. LeBron, AD, and the Lakers taking on Joel Embiid and the Sixers at 7:30 Eastern. Then the Timberwolves square off against Steph and the Warriors. Our coverage starts with Stephen A's pregame Sports Center at 7 Eastern. Welcome back to The Jump. Rachel Nichols still here with Matt Barnes. And welcome in to the host of the Hoop Collective podcast, New York Times bestseller, live from the Cobra Dome. Oh, yes. It's Brian Windhorst. Guys, we've got some good games on ESPN tonight, so let's get you ready for those with a new edition of Jump Ball. First up, if we go inside the Sixers-Lakers face-off, who on those teams is more likely to win MVP, LeBron James or Joel Embiid? Embiid, of course, never won the award. LeBron, four-time winner. The Sixers have the best record in the East so far, and according to Caesars' William Hill, James has now moved into having the second-best odds to win, while Embiid is in sixth. So, Brian, who you got of those two? We're just staying within this game right now.
Rachel, let's go back to a conversation LeBron had with you on national television in Orlando.
Yes.
Where I believe he said, give me my damn respect.
That is accurate.
As an MVP voter, I have to say that I don't regret my vote for Giannis last year because Giannis had one of the greatest all seasons of all time and the Bucks were amazing. But watching LeBron in the bubble, it reinforced the distance between him and everybody else. And with this season the way it is, where it's scattered, where there's a lot of guys going to be playing different levels of games, and because of LeBron, he's worth something more than 4 MVPs. I don't know if it should be 5. I don't know if it should be 7. I think the narrative, which as we know is so important in the MVP race, I think the narrative is on LeBron's side. And I think if he keeps playing this way, it's going to be very compelling for people like me who have not voted for him in recent years for various reasons, even if they were good, even though Joel Embiid is having a spectacular year.
Rach, I need to know, now that I'm part of the media, how do I get my vote?
I'm gonna hook you up to a conference call with Tim Frank.
Yeah.
We'll work it out.
I need to get in here. I'm taking LeBron, and as Brian alluded to, he should have at least 5, 6, 7, maybe 8. And you can say the same thing about Kobe back in the day. He should add more MVPs. I think the league gets caught up sometimes in getting what's new, what's fresh. Obviously, Giannis being MVP, brings a different attention from overseas. But LeBron has been the best player for a long time. He should definitely have more under his belt. But this year, I just love that it seems like he's so at peace with his game, and his team understands what they have to do, lead the league in defensive efficiency, understanding this is a marathon, not a sprint. So not only are they going to be, is it their title to lose, I also think it's LeBron's MVP to lose as well, because he's definitely, to me, in the front seat and should win it this year.
Well, I would argue that it's not a matter of voters getting caught up with what's new or fresh. It's about the criteria for the award. And poor Brian has had to hear me say this for 5 years now. But, Matt, I have a new audience with you, so I'm just going to go into it just a little bit again. The direction is who has had the best regular season. And LeBron James at times, and look, last year, as Brian pointed out, Giannis had a historic regular season. And that is what the award has been for. It has not been for who's the best player in the NBA. And the league has played into this by not modernizing and updating its awards the way, frankly, every other major pro U.S. sports league has. They have updated their awards, they have added scoring awards, or they have added awards that recognize the statistical best season being separate from who is the best player. And so that is why we have ended up with LeBron James not winning more MVPs. Before him, Kobe Bryant not winning more MVPs. Frankly, Michael Jordan not winning more MVPs. And I think there has been a bit of a turn among fans and even among some writers, and Brian, I think you're alluding to this a little bit, of just saying, okay, maybe we're just going to start awarding this for who we all know who the best player in the NBA is in a given year. And right now you could make an argument for LeBron. People are making an argument for Kevin Durant resurging. That is different from who has the best statistical season this year. And it will be interesting to me to see how voters vote at the end of this year. Because as you point out, Matt, that disparity between who's the best player in the NBA versus who had the best stats, it seems like in some ways it's only grown since we have more stats.
It's tough for me, as a former player, and this is all due respect to Giannis because he does have great regular seasons, but if you can't go to the MVP in the playoffs when it really counts, when the world is watching, when everything is on the line, how can you consistently continue to win MVP? LeBron is someone you can go to. KD is someone you can go to. Luka is someone you can go to. So I'm not knocking Giannis because his regular seasons have been off the charts, but as a player and guys and how we talk in the locker room, If you can't go to an MVP down the stretch in a playoff game, how is he MVP?
Yep, absolutely. And again, that's with the way the league has set up voting. Voting is done at the end of the regular season. So you can't even make that judgment or have that conversation when you're doing an MVP vote, because it's supposed to be for only the 6 months that preceded it. Nothing more, nothing less outside of that. And again, I wonder if that is going to change, if the league is going to make a change or if voters are just going to start changing it for them. All right, next up, our next jump ball. Who is the more promising rookie? Number 1 overall pick, Anthony Edwards, or number 2, James Wiseman? Start us off, Matt. What do you think?
I think obviously both have a lot of talent, but I'm going to give the edge to Wiseman because of the organization he's in. Organization means so much to young players, and when he's going into an organization of Golden State who just came off one of the greatest runs in the history, you have guys like Draymond in your ear every day getting a chance to play with Steph, Coach Kerr, and just that organization. I give him the upper hand because Minnesota's been in shambles for a lot of years with ownership, management, coaches in and out, and they're just a losing franchise. So I'm giving the edge to Wiseman, although I love Anthony Edwards and what he's been able to do thus far in this young season.
Yeah, and Andrew Wiggins alluded to it this week. Andrew Wiggins is incredibly close to Ryan Saunders, very close to a lot of people in the Wolves organization, but he just said the way the organizations run are just different, and he's the guy to have an objective view on that. You're asking me who the most promising rookie is. I am blown away by the promise of James Wiseman. I think that his ability to do things at his size, to shoot, he's got great hands, he's got great feet. Edwards is averaging more points. He's not shooting a good percentage. That happens to rookies. I'm not looking at the stats. And Wiseman recently was sent to the bench because of defensive problems. But in terms of pure promise, I am with Matt. I think Wiseman has extraordinary amounts that he can grow, and I love his skills for a big man. And
your point about the franchise is good. It's not a knock on Minnesota. It's really not. It's talking about just how exceptional Golden State has been culturally for years, and there's ample evidence of it. And Matt, you were inside that organization, and this goes back to draft picks are not the same, just interchangeable by team. When teams trade draft picks, hey, we got a number, we got a number 1 in this year. It's this protected. Well, it depends on who that team is picking and then how they develop them. And so they can be more or less valuable just depending on which team is holding them. And the development of James Wiseman, we know is going to be good because we know what Golden State can do with young players. We've watched Draymond just for 1 in these games, right, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think Golden State struck gold in this situation because normally they're not a team that would be in the lottery, so normally lottery picks are teams that, are struggling. And sometimes those are some of the bottom franchises in the league, and guys don't really have a real good example to see next to them day in, day out. But like I said, Golden State had an offseason last year after running a dynasty run, and now you plug in one of the most talented bigs we've seen in a long time with all the great vets around him, coaching staff and support system for organization. I'm excited to see what James Wiseman develops into in the next handful of years.
Again, the Draymond Green development program is really up and running there in Golden State. You can watch it every time those two are on the court together.
Absolutely.
Coming up, guys, the Nets Big Three have been logging a lot of minutes since they've came together.